Hello world and welcome to HaXeZ. In today's video I'm going to talk about Metasploit pivoting to hack segregated VirtualBox virtual machines. Now if you're new to cybersecurity or hacking in general, you may not have heard the term pivoting, and even if you have, you may not have had much experience with it. Pivoting is essentially where you compromise one host and use that host to reach other hosts behind it. So in an example, imagine you've managed to compromise a web application server that is publicly facing on the internet. You've got in, you've got a shell, and then you run ifconfig or ipconfig, and you see that not only does it have its public interface, but it also has another interface that's connected to an internal network. You can then use the host that you've already compromised to scan that internal network and run attacks against targets in that network. And today I'm going to show you how you can set up a lab to perform pivoting attacks, to practice your pivoting. I was laid in bed the other night and I couldn't get to sleep with the idea of using VirtualBox virtual host adapters to create a lab environment that allows you to pivot. I'm sure other people have come up with this idea before, but I'd actually never thought of it, and I'm quite surprised I never thought of it. But essentially, because VirtualBox allows you to create virtual host adapters and more than one of them, and you can have various virtual machines on each virtual adapter, you can create your own pivoting lab with two virtual machines and your Kali instance. You put one virtual machine on both adapters, and then you put another virtual machine only on one adapter, and then you put your Kali instance on only one adapter, so that you use your Kali host to attack the first host, which has two interfaces, and then from once you've compromised the first host, you can then scan and compromise the second host. Now, in order to do this, we're going to need target hosts, two of them. And the easiest ones to compromise on the internet are probably Metasploitable 2. So what I did is I downloaded 2 copies of Metasploitable 2. You can get them from Rapid7, which links you to SourceForge, or you can get it from VulnHub. Download 2 copies of them or 1 copy and create a virtual machine. If you've never created a virtual machine before, feel free to head over to my Hack to Learn series, where the first video, I believe, or the second video, is about an environment setup. It's a similar process, but with regards to the Metasploitable 2 virtual machines, you have to create the virtual machine first and then import the hard disk. Fairly simple to do. Then once you've done it, you need to get your first one. You can either just create 2 flat out, but you might have issues with drives being duplicated. You might get an error message. If that's the case, you'd have to download another copy of Metasploitable and import it that way, or you can just clone it. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to get our attacker OS, and we're going to configure its network to host only adapter. Then we're going to go into File, Host Network Manager, and you're going to create another host only network adapter. You can see there they've got 2 separate IPs. Make note of those IP addresses because they will come in useful later. If you can memorize them, it's not completely necessary. So once you've created the other host only adapter, head to your VM1. This is going to be the first VM that you attack. So this VM needs to have 2 network adapters, because it's going to be on the same network as your attacking host and on the same network on a separate interface as the second host. So in network, all you do is you enable adapter 1, set it to VirtualBox host only Ethernet adapter, and then in adapter 2 you need to enable it and set it to VirtualBox host only Ethernet adapter 2. Then finally, on your VM2, which I've called Meta 2, you're going to go to settings, you're going to go to network, and you're going to set it to host only adapter 2. Don't need any other adapters enabled, and that's it. That's the network configuration sorted. Just to go through it again, your attacking OS is on host only adapter 1, or just the first host only adapter. your first VM that you're going to encounter has two network adapters enabled: host 1, adapter 1, host 2, adapter 2. And then your second VM that you're going to be attacking is just on adapter 2. Brilliant. So what do we do here? Well, unfortunately, we need to do a bit of groundwork in order to enable the network adapter on our target machine. If we start the machine up, you'll see what I mean. Okay, so the machine is booted, and spoiler alert, the login for Metasploitable 2 is just msfadmin, and then again msfadmin. Now, before you get into the lab and realize that the second adapter isn't even enabled, I thought we'll go through this process first. So if we run ifconfig, you can see there we only have two addresses. This is due to the way the box is configured, but we can easily bring the second interface online, and we want to do it with DHCP, so it's all automatic. It doesn't persist, but this will get us through the lab for the first time. So what you need to do is you need to run sudo IP link set dev eth1 down. I just make sure it's down. Put in your password, msfadmin, and then we want to run sudo dh clients eth1, and that will make sure that DHCP brings the interface up rather than us having to set the address manually. Now that adapter's online, we're ready to have some fun. We are ready to start attacking. So just bring up your second VM that we're going to be attacking, and bring up your attacking VM, your host attack target. Now, I have switched from Kali Linux to Parrot OS, and the reason I did this was because Kali Linux was having too many issues with Metasploit. It kept breaking, and some other tools as well. Some certain scripts weren't there, or certain bits of the scripts were missing, and it was just becoming a bit frustrating having to try and fix it all the time. So I've switched to Parrot OS, and everything's stable and it works. It's up to you. You can use Parrot or you can use Kali, but where would a pirate be without his supporting character of a good old trusty parrot? So you can see now I'm just switching into my Parrot OS VM. I'm going to boot it up. I'm not sure if I remember what the password is, as I only set it up late last night. And once it's booted, we can go about finding the host we want to attack and attacking it. So it's going to log in here, and within a short second we have our display. Lovely, nice colouring. You can change the background again. It's using Mate desktop, which I do like. I did like XFCE on Kali though, and that feature to switch backwards, but we're not here to talk about the difference between Parrot and Kali. We are here to pop machines and pivot into a different network. So what are we going to do? We're going to bring it to the terminal. As you can see, Parrot does have a nice terminal as well. So let's increase the size on that so you can all see what I'm doing. Maybe that's a bit too big. Okay, so first of all, we're going to do sudo mmap-sp 192.168.56.0/24. So remember when I said to have a look at your IP addresses in your host network manager earlier? That's 192.168.56.1.0 to 255. Okay, cool. So we know the IP address and we can scan it. And what this will do is this will send a ping out to all the hosts on the network until we find the one that we're looking for. And you can see here we found two, 106 and 107. I sometimes get these rogue ones. I'm not too sure what they are, but we'll just ignore them for now. Now if I run ifconfig, I'm either going to be 106 or 107, and whichever one I am, the other one is our target. So I am 107, so we need to target 106. So in order to do this, let's open a new terminal which isn't so large and only increase it a little bit, and let's do sudo msfdb init just to make sure it's online. Brilliant. And then let's do sudo msf console. What I probably should do in the background, just to be in traditional pen tester fashion, is just do a quick mmap of 192.168.56.106. I already know what services are there, you probably already know what services are there, and the service we're going to be attacking today is a bit boring, I'm afraid, but it's the easiest one we can do for this demonstration. We're just going to use SSH. So back to MSF console or Metasploit, and we are going to search for SSH_login. There you can see module 0, so we're going to use 0. And if we check the options, you can see that we've got a bunch of options. We have the R hosts, which is essential, but we've also got username and password. Now granted, we could exploit it in other ways, but let's just run under the pretense that we've managed to get some credentials from somewhere. Again, this is just a demonstration to test out our pivoting. So we're going to set our hosts to 192.168.56.106. We're going to set username to MSF admin. We're going to set password to MSF admin, and then we're going to just double check that our options have been set correctly. As you can see, we have our username, we have our password, and we have our remote host. So we can now run exploit, and you can see there we have a sessions. How do we see the sessions? Well, we do sessions-l, and there you can see we have a session 1, and it's a SSH session. But we're going to need to upgrade that to a Meterpreter session because Meterpreter's big and strong. Let's have a go. So let's do sudo sessions. Oh, we don't need to do sudo, do I? Just do sessions-u1. And that tells it to send it the Meterpreter payload, which then creates a reverse shell back to us. Not even sure we needed to use Meterpreter, but let's use it anyway. So now we should have 2 sessions, one SSH session and another Meterpreter session. So let's do sessions-l. You can see there we got 2, so let's use 2. Okay, set session, no, sessions, if I can spell, sessions-i2. That's telling you to interact with session 2, and you can see there we have Meterpreter 2. So we can do sysinfo, find out a bit of information about the system, but what we really want to know is how many networks this host has got. So let's run ifconfig. And as you can see there, boom, we have that second network. So let's how can I demonstrate this? Okay. Okay, what we can do, first of all, let's have a look over here. Let's try and mmap that network. So we know it's 242.0, so we could do sudo mmap-sp 192.168.242.0/24. Now, I'm hoping this doesn't work. Failed to determine route to host or to the IP address. It essentially means it doesn't know how to get there. So we don't know how to get to this network. This network doesn't exist to us, but the network exists on this host. This host knows about it. So what we need to do now is we can background that, now that we know that that IP, that network exists, and then we can do search for auto route, and then we use 0, as you can see there, auto route, and then we check the options. Brilliant. So it wants a session, so we just set session to 2, and then we do run, and as you can see there, route added, that's the wrong route, 192.168.242.0. fantastic. Okay, but we still don't know how to get into that network. We still don't know where the hosts are, right? So if we do hosts in the database, okay, maybe I'm cheating a little bit, my hosts are already there, I forgot to clear my cache, but that normally won't be there. You would only usually see the hosts there because we haven't found the host yet. How do we find the hosts? Well, let's search for ping sweep, and then we use 0, and then we set options, and then we set our hosts 192.168.50.242.0/24, set session 2, run that or exploit and see what happens. Can't type. Ping sweep. Okay, so you see now it's found a number of hosts. Again, I'm not sure where some of these hosts are coming from. I don't know where .2.3 is coming from. but it's immediately found them. Now it's going to continue running up to 255 in the background. We don't need to know that because I know which IP address our host is on. You won't know yet, but if you leave this to run, you can then find out which host it is. So how do we know what services are listening on these hosts? Well, let's search for port scan. Brilliant, and you can see there TCP, which is probably the one we want to use, since TCP is probably the most reliable way to determine ports. So we're going to use 5, and we're going to do options, and then we're just going to set our hosts to 192.168.56. Let's have a look at one of the hosts. .2. So let's try .2. It's not that, is it? It's 242. Sorry, getting complicated. .2. And then we can just run, or exploit. Run. Spelled it wrong. Okay, so I would have expected something to come back from the host now, so this address looked a bit bunk. So instead, let's run it against .3. Set our hosts 192.168.242, and what did I say we were going to do? We're going to do number 3. Exploit. Can't type today. Run. Okay, it's not the host I thought it was. So you can see there it's reporting back all the TCP ports that are open, and we know that it's going to be the Metasploitable 2 box because, yeah, if we compare it to the one we ran earlier, God, that is so zoomed in. We can't compare it, but essentially it's going to have the same ports open that we had on our Metasploitable box when we first mapped it and port scanned it, which is great. You can see you got SSH, SMTP. So we know these ports are open, so what can we do now? Well, so now that we've exploited the host, we can go back to SSH login as another really easy example. Again, Metasploitable 2 has so many services that you can use to exploit, but for simplicity's sake, we're going to use something really reliable, just SSH login. So you can see here, I've already populated the parameters for the box. So we've got the same username, MSFadmin, we've got the same password, or the other way around, MSFadmin, and now our host is set to 192.168.242.3. Now, if I open a new tab, and I'm going to try and ping this box from my own host. There's no trickery here, I cannot reach it at all. It does not exist on my network. Yeah, you just can't get to it. But now that we've pivoted in Metasploit through that first host, the 56.106, we can now connect to it. And I've already got another session because I've only just tried this out. But if we do sessions-l, you can see there I've got the new shell session to that IP address, and we can just do session-i4-i4 sessions. I always do that, -i4, and then just do who am I. You can list out home, or you can just go background, and then you can probably, I don't think you can upgrade this one actually. Sessions-u4. Got a feeling that might break. Yeah, failed to validate our host. That's probably due to the way it's coming back through the middle host. I haven't worked that out yet. But anyway, this was my video on Metasploit pivoting to hack segregated VirtualBox virtual machines. I did Google this method and I didn't find really any relevant sort of information about setting it up. I'm sure there are many cybersecurity professionals out there who do this all the time to test things, and I just wasn't aware of it. And again, based on the amount of times I've interacted with the host only adapters and things like that, I'm surprised that I didn't think of doing something like this sooner. It's a great way to get your first sort of grips on pivoting, sink your teeth into it. I was always a bit sort of afraid of pivoting. I always thought it would be super difficult, but I sat down the other day after thinking up this idea and was like, right, let's find out what all the fuss is about. Let's go in and pivot. Now, bear in mind, I use SSH tunnels and everything at work all the time. You know, I'm used to proxying and doing things like that and relaying traffic through other hosts, but I've never done it through Metasploit before. So again, this is something that may come up in the future and future exams, and it's definitely worth knowing. I really enjoyed writing up a guide on how I did this. It's on HaXeZ.org. It's also on my Medium if you want to read it there. Would love a follow. But yeah, if you're looking for more specific information, just head over to HaXeZ.org. You'll find it in there under the tips and tricks section, and have a read through. It's got all the commands in there that you need. It's got pictures and stuff on how to do it. But yeah, honestly, it's magic to me how this works. Do you know what? It's still magic to me how Meterpreter works. I know it gets loaded into memory and things like that, but how it does that is just baffling. Code is amazing, isn't it? I wish I could program that good. But yeah, I hope this has helped you understand pivoting a bit more. I hope it's helped you learn how to do pivoting. If it has, I would love a thumbs up and a comment to say, you know, oh, this helped me with pivoting. But anyway, this has been HaXeZ. Thank you for watching. Kind regards.